You can manifest all you set your mind to. Hone any skill by choosing what stones to grind to. Master self by first looking deep within to find you. There's nothing wrong with loving self. All men were designed to. Yo, you already know what it is. It's your boy Big Rube, and you're listening to Manhood Mindset, hosted by Big Chris from Ellenwood. Peace.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for tuning in. My name is Christopher Pugh, and this is another episode of Manhood Mindset. And today we have a special guest, special treat, and a special occasion, I would say. This is one of my mentors, one of the people that helped me matriculate through college and help guide me into my professional career. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Dr. Georj Lewis, Vice President of Student Affairs at Georgia Southern University. What's up, Doc?
Thank you, Chris. Appreciate it, man.
Hey, man, I appreciate you.
All right.
Man. This is a cool occasion. So, just in case this is your first time watching, Manhood Mindset is about a contribution to our community. Regardless of what community you're a part of, this is a good conversation, a healthy conversation about manhood, what it is and what it could be. And so what we're going to try to do is get into the mindset of Dr. Lewis, see what he thinks about manhood, and see where he thinks where we're going as a people, as a community, as a nation, as a human race. All right, so Doc, let's start off, man. Let's get to it.
All right.
All right. What's manhood to you?
Manhood to me, it's about responsibility.
Okay.
It's really about being responsible for yourself, for those you love, for your community.
For sure.
I grew up with my father.
Gotcha.
My mother passed when I was 4.5.
Okay.
And so responsibility, I feel like I learned it early.
Right.
There wasn't too many. My father was relatively strict.
Gotcha.
So
gotcha. I can see how you doctored it. Oh yeah. Okay.
So if you were to be home at 9, you were to be home at 9.
For sure.
There were days that he said, "Look, I'm not going to be home, so there's food." He worked. My father was a teacher, principal. He said, "You need to cook something to eat." So to me, being responsible, again, is taking care of yourself, taking care of your family. He was a good role model for me because when my mother did pass, my grandparents said, "Well, we'll take the kids."
Gotcha.
And he was like, "No, they're mine." So when I hear about all of the sometimes black males, we get a bad rap. And so when I hear a lot of the discussion about that, that's not an experience that I had. So while I didn't have a mother for most part of me growing up, I had a father who really took care of business. And so when I hear that, I can't understand. And so I try to empathize with others, but I can understand my father not being there. I can understand him not coaching my football teams, and he cooks a mean spaghetti. So I can understand what other people are. I can try to understand, but what I've experienced, to me, was the definition of manhood. Somebody who took care of his kids, his family. He worked, and I know that he sacrificed for us because he could have been doing other things. So Long answer, but to me,
No.
that's what it is.
That's good. That's good. And when we talk about manhood mindset, what do you think his thought process was as soon as your mom passed, and when he looked at you all? Are you the only child?
No. I have a older brother and actually a sister who came later.
Okay.
Down the line, but my brother is about he's 5 or 6 years older than me. So
Okay.
I was 4.5. He was closer to 10. So it was more of a challenge for my brother because he was older.
Right.
And so I don't remember too much. He remembers everything, and that was
Right.
a critical part.
Gotcha.
But I don't know what was going through my father's mind. I can imagine I think my mother was in her early 30s, and it came unexpected as a result of an operation. And so she went in one day and didn't come out.
Understood.
So I know he wasn't expecting that. But again, perhaps from where he grew up and how he was raised, that the only thing he knew to do was to take care of us.
Right.
So because I was in that situation, I'm fortunate. That's all I know how to do.
Right.
I have 3.
Right.
I have 3 children and a wife.
Right.
And all I know how to do is to try to take care of them,
Right.
and try to contribute to the family and actually lead the family.
Okay.
And I guess leading it doesn't mean everything I say goes, because my wife is strong.
That's real. That's real respect.
But as a leader, you have to know when to assert yourself, when to step back.
Yeah. Being in a leadership position doesn't mean you always lead.
Oh no.
Right.
Oh no.
Right.
Oh no. Actually, what I've learned over time and even throughout my career, the more people that I'm responsible for, it's the more I need to get into a service mindset. It's not necessarily about, well, what's the best thing for Georj Lewis?
Right.
It's what's the best thing for others so they can perform at the level that they need to. So again, when I was younger, I saw leadership looking a certain way.
Okay.
But as you become experienced over time and hopefully gain some wisdom, you learn that leadership is a little different than maybe what you have perceived.
Understood. So as far as I know, you mentioned earlier about the narrative that you hear about men who are categorized as black, and the narrative of what we're not doing, where we're not present at, or how many of our failures are out in the open, right? And based off what you're telling me, you grew up in a counter narrative, and you're living a counter narrative of that. So when you hear that story about what men who are considered black are not doing, that is foreign to you.
Yeah, but you know what I will say is I realize that I'm fortunate and I'm blessed because everybody is perhaps one step away from doing something that could put you in a bad situation. So I know there have been situations in my life where I haven't made the best decision, but because of being lucky, being blessed, that it didn't have as much of a negative impact on me. And so I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm perfect, but fortunately, I've been in situations where I have made mistakes. I've learned from them, but not to the point where it's been detrimental to my future. And that's one thing that we have to think about as we're dealing with young people. They're going to make mistakes, and that's why I think it's important for us to teach people about being accountable. But I mean, everybody makes mistakes, and so I know there have been times when I've been lucky and I've made a mistake that could have been detrimental. But right place, right time, right support, right connections. Some of us don't have the same kind of social capital. You may get a speeding ticket, you may know somebody, and you don't have it.
That's a rep. Yeah.
So that way, 2 or 3 speeding tickets later, you're still driving.
That's true.
Somebody else who doesn't have that capital, they get a speeding ticket and they can't get out of it. Then they get another one, and then before you know it, they're on probation. And they do something silly, and they're in big trouble. So I try to remain humble and understand that it's not necessarily just because I was that good. It's because of the situation. So
a lot of people out there are tightroping without the safety net. I know I had a safety net.
Yeah.
And when you mess up, you got something that catches you. But some people who, when they make a mistake or slip up, they hit rock bottom real hard.
I got in trouble. I go down the hallway. My father gives me the paddle in class.
Wow.
Or if I'm gonna tell your father, or I'm gonna tell your grandmother.
Right.
So that was my safety net, and
Right.
so without those things in place, it would have been difficult, and I know it's difficult for others who don't have that safety net. So so that's why you try to embrace as many people as you can where they're at, realizing that no one's out there to do bad.
Right.
Sometimes they get caught up in situations, you know, that are bad, but I don't. Most of us, it isn't our intent
Right.
for me to do you wrong.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
Talk for a minute to that young person or that adult who does not have that village or that safety net.
Yeah.
What would you tell them?
You know, I would encourage anybody to look for what their purpose is.
Gotcha.
And so, really, what we're talking about now, this is what I think. To be resilient, to get through the stuff that we have to get through, you have to have some kind of purpose. So, if my purpose is to do better for my family, so I may not have that safety net,
Right.
but I know if my purpose is to help my children or to help my spouse or significant other,
Correct.
or my partner, whenever things get difficult, I need to reflect on, you know, what's my purpose? Why am I going through this? And it's easier to go through something if you have a purpose. But if you don't have that purpose, it's kind of difficult. So that's what and for some it's hard to get to that point. But that's what I would tell somebody is, you know, what is your purpose of being here? Are you looking for happiness? You're looking for a career. You're looking for income. You're looking to support your family. You're looking to better yourself.
Right.
And if your purpose is bigger than the struggle, I think you'll get there.
Right.
But if you don't have a purpose, you're gonna get in the struggle and just fall off.
That's true. You mentioned purpose, so now got to put you on the hot seat.
Oh no! All right.
What is it's a two-part question.
Yeah.
What is your purpose?
Okay.
Or multiple purposes.
And
when did you find them out?
That is a good question.
Yes, it is.
And I have multiple, and I think I have multiple. If I'm talking about my career, and again, I've been put in situations where I've been asked that question before,
Gotcha.
and have had an opportunity to go through exercises to help me explore, Georj Lewis, really, what do you want to do?
Right.
It's not just about being a vice president or a president. Really, what do you want to do? And so my purpose professionally is to be in an environment where I can have an impact on the campus, the region, the community, and the state. And so I want to put myself in a position where I think I can work with others to have that kind of impact and perhaps to leave that legacy. We shouldn't, we should be both, both of us should be better after we interact with one another.
Correct.
You're supposed to produce fruit. So if I'm interacting with you and you don't get something positive out of it, then I haven't done what I'm supposed to do. So, so my purpose is to have a positive impact on people and help them reach whatever their goal is from a professional perspective. So that's what my purpose is. Now as a family person, it really is to be the best husband and father that I can be. And that means a whole lot. Okay. That means being there. That means providing, you know, in a reasonable way financially. It means, you know, providing the kind of discipline that will, you know, help my children learn, you know, the difference between right and wrong to the point where they can figure those things out themselves down the road. Now, when did I figure that out? I will tell you from a career perspective, I didn't recognize it until I was the dean of students on this campus.
Gotcha.
I was probably 31, 32 years old at that time.
31, 32 year old dean.
And I'm only 34 right now.
That's cool.
Right.
Yeah.
But,
light years, I get it.
But so that's probably when I figured it out. And once I figured it out, I saw my performance improve. I became focused, went back, and was focused on receiving my doctorate. I think I engaged better with, you know, the people who reported to me and students, but I didn't figure it out until that point. So I've been working for a while.
Right.
I thought I was supposed to do some other things.
Right.
and I thought I was supposed to do them because they look shiny and pretty.
Right.
And I was ignoring what was easy and what was natural for me. What was easy doesn't mean that it was an easy task, but it fit who I was as an individual. So, I didn't really figure that out from a career perspective.
For sure.
As far as my purpose as a human being, and as a father and as a family person, that has been developed ever since I was young.
Gotcha.
I mentioned about my father earlier. I had outstanding grandparents. I can remember going to see my grandmother and then my grandfather doing math problems with me.
Wow.
My grandfather, he didn't go to college.
Right.
But because he instilled that in all of us, the trajectory of our family changed with education. So that's one thing that I'll say that's real important. My father was first generation, and so was my mother. Okay. But as a result of them taking that step,
right,
we have PhDs and EDDs and masters all through the family now.
Wow. We
did not have that before. My brother has his doctorate. He's a principal at the American school in Mexico.
Right.
And so, those kind of things, they don't happen by accident.
Right.
But because someone else went.
Yeah.
And so that's all we knew what to do. You don't have to go to college to be successful.
Right.
However, that's where you do have a lot of opportunities if you do take that step. So anyway, so as a family person, that has been developed the whole time. But professionally, I did some searching just like everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it took a minute,
straight up,
or two.
That's respect.
Yeah.
That's respect. Like one thing that I'm thinking about as you talk, I had a conversation with a young lady yesterday. She is struggling with her next move in life, right? She's trying to go to law school. However, she's scared because she's not necessarily sure that's what she wants to do. She's been told she wants to do it. That's the best thing for her to do. She has multiple interests, and she just graduated. So, of course, we just had a graduation a few weeks ago. And you have a lot of people who reach the finish line, but still in the process of a race.
Yeah.
And that could be confusing to a lot of people. So you say you were still figuring it out in your 30s, right?
Mm-hmm.
So those people who are expected to know by not only family, friends, constituents, strangers, you know? And of course, we know that a lot of people love to ask what you're going to do next. Yeah. And a lot of us have no idea. Yeah. So the person who's struggling, especially that young lady I talked to yesterday who's struggling with their next move, what would you say to her?
I would say think about what you feel like you're good at, what you like to do, what you enjoy. I would encourage everybody to, and this is hard to do, but if there's if finances are a part of your thought process, perhaps maybe don't think about how much money that you can make doing X, Y, or Z.
Right.
I believe if you're good at whatever you do, you can do well.
Right.
And I will tell you this, that someone who had my first job, I worked at a group home for about 3 months, making $6.49 an hour. I love that job.
Yeah. There was purpose in it.
I mean, yes. Yeah. And so I think it's really, I would focus on what you're good at, what you like to do, some of the material things. Try to exclude that from your thought process, because once you get something, you start to learn to live that way, and then you want more. And so you're never going to be fulfilled if you're only looking at a salary. I mean, back to me talking about my purpose. I ain't say anything about money.
Right.
I ain't say anything about how much I wanted to make or when I wanted to retire. Or this, that, or other. Because if you have a purpose, that extends beyond what you're going to do every day.
Correct.
Once I retire, I plan on still staying connected to education somehow. So again. I'm trying to make it sound simple.
No, because one thing I'm hearing, your assignment, whatever you were meant to do on this planet, you can't retire from it.
Oh, no. Yeah. Oh, no. So what you're good at, what you like to do, try to pull those things together. And there's going to be some challenges. I mentioned purpose, and you have to go through some things to get there, but you can get through them if you have a purpose.
Right.
So for that young lady and others, there's a difference between suffering and sacrifice.
Right.
I don't want to suffer. I don't want to suffer, but I will sacrifice if I have a purpose. And I didn't necessarily make that up myself, because I read it when I was in graduate school. Guy's name is Viktor Frankl. It's logotherapy is the it's called Man's Search for Meaning, and the book is about a guy who was in a concentration camp, and the way that he survived is he found meaning and purpose in his life. And if he wouldn't have had that, he wouldn't have been able to deal through all that mess. Right. So when you think about our life and what your purpose is, that means you will work through some things if you have one. So for this person, focus on what you're good at, what you like to do. Try to establish what you think your purpose might be, and work towards it. But also give yourself some freedom to change your mind.
Right.
I mean, we're people. Yeah. This person's probably 20-something.
Yeah.
I didn't figure it out till I was 30-something. Right. With 3 kids and married for several years at that point.
Right.
So.
Right. One thing that really caught my attention is that suffering versus sacrifice. I know a lot of us, just as a human race, not only just people who self-identify as a minority, but a lot of people across the board, sometimes we identify suffering as it's a process, but there's no sacrifice involved in the suffering. So some of us, I've witnessed, this is not true for everybody. Yeah. I've witnessed, and sometimes myself thinking that, okay, since this is a tough time, it must be something progressing because of the tough time. Not necessarily true. Yeah. Sometimes you could just be suffering under a painful event. Yeah. You know what I mean?
You have to know when to get out.
Right, yeah. right. So it across the board, it's almost like one of those things where even when people are staying in professional positions, personal positions with another, like relationships, romantic relationships, family relationships, anything that is suffering is not automatically sacrifice.
No, it's not.
So I mean, based on what I'm hearing you say, how I took it is just know the difference between suffering and sacrifice.
Yes.
And question yourself every day. Just because it's pain, is it pain that is supposed to be there, or is it pain that is letting you know that hey, this is not supposed to be happening?
Yeah, you're right. I mean, you go to the doctor and they say to exercise, get in shape, lose some weight, George, do whatever you need to do.
I've heard that before.
and so in that situation, look, everything in life is related, but you know, in that situation, it may be a little challenging getting out there, running, lifting weights, etc., working out. But you understand that you are trying to get to a place where you're healthier. Yeah. So that makes sense. Yeah. But showing up to do something and you're getting beat over the head without anything connected to it. Right. Yeah, you need to learn how to, cut situations, relationships, positions that you're in. Yeah. I get it. I mean, I had a position like that. One of my earlier jobs, and I'm not talking negative about any industry, but I was in the finance industry. Right. And so I knew what the goals of the organization was, and so I'm meeting with people and I'm helping them reach their goals, and I'm meeting mine. But I just wasn't feeling it. Right. And so I could, I would be at home and the phone would ring, and I would answer my phone at home like I was at work. Right. So that was one of those situations where that wasn't sacrifice, that was suffering.
That's real.
And I got out of that position. Right.
Because it kind of consumed other areas of your life a little bit.
Yeah. A lot. And so it just wasn't natural. Where for others, that may be the kind of role that they thrive in. Right. And so, I mean, to each his own there. I mean, we're not all made to do the same thing.
Gotcha.
Otherwise you wouldn't have a team. You have a team, everybody got to do something different to focus on the goal. You do the same thing, you're going to clash.
I would like to go into another realm of mindset. We talked kind of like family and academic so far. And we could definitely come back to it if it goes there. Spiritual mindset.
Yes, sir.
Some people meditate. Anything that helps the mind clear up or helps the mind focus. Any type of relationship that you have spiritually with yourself, with a higher power, anything that you think may help someone, what have you done that works?
Well, what I will say, and I'll be general for everyone, is, I mean, I believe there's something bigger than all of us.
Of course.
And if you're somebody who believes that, that does ground you. For me, we have a very spiritual family. We, not to say that we are saints, but we understand, at least in our family, where our blessings come from. And we understand that I do think everybody is here for a purpose, and everybody has a calling. Some of You know, somebody's calling maybe to coach football. Somebody's maybe to, you know, work on a college campus. Somebody else's maybe to, you know, be a construction worker. I don't know what it is, but I think we all have something that is here for us to do that will maximize our potential. Right. But the spiritual piece of it really keeps us grounded, keeps us together. Sometimes things happen that you can't explain. Right. And that's when you're thankful. And then sometimes things happen that you're upset about. Of course. And I think you have to accept those as well and understand, you know, what lesson is in the trial. And for what reason is this happening? And how can I embrace what I believe in, even in the midst of the struggle? Right. So, I mean, for us, for me, that is significant. And I would say as you get older, perhaps it gets a little more for me because I'm starting to understand things more, and I'm more serious about perhaps maybe studying and reading the Word that I read, and knowing the importance of, for us, putting that first. Correct. For us, you put that first. Everything else, you know, kind of falls together. I'm not. Again, I keep saying this, we are not perfect, and we're not meant to be. You know, there's certain things you want, you know, that's not good for you. I'm going to buy it anyway. Right. Like, man, why'd I buy that? So so we all do those things, but
extra cheese. I go through that with extra cheese all the time.
Cheese is not good for me.
Man, it's just glue. It's just what it is, man. It's just what it is.
But no, I'm just a firm believer that there's something bigger than all of us, for sure. And I think we have to look to that because sometimes you can't explain what's happening to you, and you can't just let everything go to everybody. Exactly. So you need a safe place and something safe to connect to that's going to help ground you, that's going to humble you from time to time, and will give you the kind of peace that will help you get up the next day and go at it again. And so very important. I mean that is one of the foundational things in our household. Right. Is spirituality, and you know, we don't let anything from outside impact the decisions that we make inside. Gotcha. So there's not much that I will get my feathers ruffled over. Understood. Other than, you know, somebody else controlling the decisions that we're making inside the house. Gotcha. We don't do that. Gotcha. So, gotcha. You didn't even ask that question, but I'm giving it to you anyway. No, that's good. That's good because you know, just the purpose behind what we're doing is, you'd be surprised what somebody needs to hear that I don't even think to ask. So the genuineness in your question and your answers, your responses is going to help whoever needs it, even if I don't know them. You know, even if you don't know them. And this is we're actually seeing your purpose right in front of us. You know, because you just want to help. Yep. And as genuine as possible, give the information that somebody can use to better themselves. Yep. And I believe you're doing it. You've been doing it for a while, but of course the audience who just not meeting you right now, and having the chance to hear somebody work through these issues and verbalize it, because there's one thing about a lot of the youth now, and a lot of educators out there that I talk to, the ability to express what you're feeling is a challenge to a lot of young people. They may not have the vocabulary, they may not have had the opportunity to have the conversation where they can get that type of stuff out. And when hearing someone who might be dealing with a loss of a family member at a young age, who may be still trying to figure out what they want to do in life, who may be still trying to figure out what is my purpose, and I thought that was my purpose, but it was just something I like to do. What if I'm not born to do that? They need to hear someone talk through it, you know? And one of the things that I find out that a lot of young people and old people are dealing with is that idea of perfection and the idea of success based off what other people have told them. And a lot of us, I mean, me included, everyone is kind of suffering from that end goal that has nothing to do with them. Yeah. You know what I mean? So I think across the board, one thing you have done is helped the audience and me just examine your life. Just examine your life. Don't necessarily jump the gun and try to figure out, well, am I right or wrong? Just find out is what you're doing working. All right? One last thing, I know we're about to go. All right. I got 2 questions for you. I said one last thing, then I snuck in 2 questions. I hope you realize that's a contradiction. That. It is. I lied. So I would like to talk about
manhood and finance.
Okay.
A lot of men that I've talked to equate being a real man based off economics, their financial abilities to provide. And you've already mentioned how you provide, spiritually with discipline, all these different things. However, the narrative and a lot of people's experience and a lot of things that we've been told is that you're not a real man if, then they fill in the blank with something that's financial.
Yeah.
So to that young man who may be transitioning between jobs or businesses and they're low on finances, who thinks he's not a real man unless he can provide financially, what would you say to that person?
Well, and actually, you kind of asked this question. It was the first question.
Possibly.
You asked about what is manhood? What is manhood? And I think one of the first couple words that I mentioned was responsibility, which takes several forms.
Yeah, definitely.
If you're a father, father to be, you have to be there. Yeah. It didn't cost any money to be there.
It costs time.
Yes, it does. Yeah. But you have to be there. And I'm deviating a bit, but also being a man is understanding when I made a mistake. I apologize. Right. One of the things that I thought was the antithesis of a man. I grew up with my father, and so we didn't cry too much around the house. Okay. But if there's somebody or something that you really love, it will sometimes take you to that point. And it's not, and I'm not necessarily talking bad. Right. When I see my children do something
in you,
and I'm like, man, what's going on here? This is not supposed to be like that.
Exactly.
So I mean, there's lots of ways that I think you can be a man. It is definitely not all about money. Gotcha. I mean, as a responsible human being, you want to be able to meet some basic needs. And so for that, does that mean seeking employment? Absolutely, it does. And so I don't want to be unrealistic and say, finances don't mean anything.
Right.
But it doesn't mean that you have to buy here's the deal. Right. We sometimes want to buy the biggest rims, the biggest car, the biggest this, and I like cars. Yeah. But I went from buying brand new cars when I was younger. Right. I don't think I bought a new car in the last 3 or 4 cars because it didn't make me more of a man. Yeah. So sometimes we think that we need to buy the biggest. It's the biggest house. It's the biggest car. It's the biggest this. And if we're not ready for that, we sometimes deviate and do things to try to get that, which takes us away from what our focus is. So again, I think it's okay to want to provide, but providing is not only financially. Right. Providing is emotionally, it's spiritually, it's being an example of somebody with good character. It's being able to say no when you should say no, and yes when you should say yes, even if it's a bit uncomfortable sometimes. So I think there's lots of ways that we can illustrate our manhood, but it is definitely not all about money. When I made $6 and whatever an hour, I had a wife and 3 kids. That's real. All right, and she was probably making $7, and it doesn't. And I'm gonna tell you right now, it doesn't matter who makes more. Right. If I'm a stay-at-home father because my wife is doing X, Y, or Z, I'll be the best stay-at-home father. I will take care. So there is much more to it than just finances. Gotcha. And I think sometimes we get confused there and try to fix everything with money, and it doesn't. Once you get money, you want more, and you want more because you're missing other things. You don't really need more, but what you need is more love, more empathy, more just being there, more supporting of your family. So it's easier to say that when you can pay your bills, but I just want to convey to everybody that is not the answer at all. Not the only one. And I forget the other part of your question. You may ask me too.
No, that was pretty much it. It was about manhood as it relates to finance. And basically what I've heard you say is, finance is a part, but it's not the end all be all. Oh, no. Your manhood is not measured by your pocket. Oh no. Yeah, it's measured on a collection of different duties that you think that needs to be completed.
Be there for your family. Be there for your friends. Be responsible with your schoolwork if you're going to school.
Right.
Go to work on time. Be the best person that you can be on the job, whatever job you're working. My work ethic did not change when I flipped burgers at McDonald's, and I did, compared to when I'm the VP. The more money you make is not going to motivate you. It's what you have inside and what your purpose is what's going to help motivate you. The funds won't.
Last thing, a lot of people are interested in rebuilding the family structure in communities across the world. And you mentioned your family throughout the entire interview, which is very, very helpful to a lot of people who are wondering, man, am I family material? Should I start my own family? Should I even try to get married? Should I even try to do these different things? To young men and young women who are struggling with relationships. And I'm not trying to make you a relationship guru. I'm not trying to make you do that. However, I do want you to expound on the relationships between people who are trying to build families. What mindset do you suggest they be in, even if they're starting to think about that direction to rebuild the quote-unquote family structure that we've been told has been destroyed?
What I'm going to say, or how I'm going to respond, is what's worked for us. It's really about compromise. It's about you are in a partnership.
Right.
It is a relationship.
Right.
You know, it's there's no secrets. If we make $5, we make 5. I don't make 5 and she makes 10, then we make 15 together.
Right.
And I think a lot of people, back to the finances, struggle because they try to separate some of those things. I'm old school.
Got you.
And so, I mean, everything is together. So if I'm eating steak, she's eating steak. If I'm not eating, she's not eating. And so,
and that's a good school.
So
y'all school got steak. Okay, have steak at the cab, man.
So we stay together. But you know, the advice I would give couples is, it is about compromise. Nobody wins. Like if we're in an argument,
there's no winner.
And I mean,
if you win, you lose.
There's no win. I mean, so it is not about that at all. And if you have winners and losers in a relationship, somebody's not happy. Right. At the end of the day, I mean, that's as plain as I can make it. If you are in a relationship and you're trying to win, then you know, we need to try to win together. Right. You know, we need to have this child. We need to be happy. You know, we need to be broke. We need to be rich. But it's
the quarterback and the center don't compete.
There's
no winner and loser between the center and the quarterback.
No, you're on the same team. That's what I mean. And I do have conversations a lot with younger people about relationships. And I mean, I don't dabble in areas that I'm not necessarily an expert. I know what works for us.
For sure.
I mentioned they were old school, so all the complexities that you bring in, I make it simple.
Right.
We're together. We're a family.
Right.
What I have, you have. What you have, I have.
Right.
And that's it.
That's real. Okay.
So if you take vows, they're not optional.
I know.
You know, I mean, it's not, to death do us part.
Yeah.
There's no part B. There's an option.
That is true. Till death. And they were like, hold on, the death of the plants.
And understand everybody shouldn't be together. So I'm not saying that you want to stay in a situation that you shouldn't be in. But leading up to that, you have to take all those things serious. It is a partnership. There's no winners and there's no losers. You do whatever you do together. And if you don't, you're going to have challenges. That's real.
That's real. We're at the end of our interview.
Yes, sir.
I'd like to, for the people who are looking in right now, well, first of all, thank you all so much for staying tuned with Manhood Mindset. That we are interviewing Dr. Georj Lewis. He is the Vice President of Student Affairs at Georgia Southern University. He said so many different things, and I'm going to briefly talk about and kind of wind down on some of the things that kind of stood out to me. Your first things that came out your mouth was responsibility when it came down to manhood. And your investigation of manhood really came down to doing what you're supposed to be doing, right? You talked about the adversity of having a parent pass away at a young age. However, you witnessed your father come in and do some amazing things. But you also mentioned that you had a village, also a safety net in your life that kind of let your mistakes just be mistakes instead of life-altering events, right? We did talk about some people who had mistakes that turned into life-altering events. and you do understand the difference between some people's situation. All right. You talked about the difference between suffering and sacrifice. I think a lot of people need to understand that just because you're suffering does not mean you're making a sacrifice. Yeah. So just investigate that. If you're in some type of painful situation, it could be job, relationship, family relationships, or any type of the spiritual relationship. If you're suffering, it's not always a sacrifice, right? So, but investigate that on your own. We talked about finance when it comes to manhood. And you said it's not necessarily always money, but it's time. And the thing that I was thinking about is time is money in a lot of cases, right? So you got a lot of people, I'm thinking about a lot of young people who may have well-to-do parents, well-off parents. They don't see them at all. And they grow up without parents. They grow up with a lot of money, but they don't have parents, you know. And so some of them grow up being hurt individuals. They either try to overcompensate or they try to write people off because of the pain. So time is money in a lot of different cases, but, you know, kind of re-examine what you think what money can do for a relationship, especially with a child. All right. Manhood is not based off man-made items. I wrote that down when you were talking. You were saying that your salaries and all of those different things some people can give to you. It's not necessarily that you're a better man because somebody can give you gifts. Your manhood is more internal. It's your personal business, right? And the family structure is a partnership. So it's when I hear about partnership, I hear of building a family is a service project. That's what I hear. All right. That's what I hear. I'm not saying that's what you said. That's all right. But that's what I hear when you say that. You know what I mean? When people want to build a family, that I has to be very, very small. Oh yeah. That I has to be on the other end of the word family. That eventually gets in family, but it's not the first thing. So a lot of things that you said, it resonated with me. I'm pretty sure someone who's looking in, who's going to see this interview, is going to get a lot of help. What is a good way that somebody can contact you if they have any questions or just want to reach out to you or see what you're doing or what you got coming up next and all of that good stuff?
Was this close to giving you my mobile?
I know. I snuck that in there. Snuck that in there.
Email is fine.
Email is fine.
Yeah.
And what's your email?
Lewis. Lewis at georgiasouthern.edu. Okay. I mean, I do Facebook.
Gotcha.
You know, I accept most people if I know there's some kind of connection. True. And
he's a Pittsburgh fan, though.
Absolutely.
That's you know.
Yeah, we don't have conversations during the Steeler game. And I'm not one of those who likes to joke about the Steelers when they're losing.
I know.
I'm just going to be honest.
I know.
We don't joke about that.
The bad side.
Yes, that's the bad side.
No, man, but any other final thoughts that you have for your audience? Any young man and young woman or families that may be watching this interview? Anything you want to say?
Keep working hard. Stay focused on what you think your purpose is, and I think if you do that, I'm not saying things will be easy, but you will see where your goals are, and so just continue to work through that. Find out whatever is good for you to inspire you and your family. Do you watch or listen to Eric Thomas?
Yeah. Eric Thomas is a beast.
When I work out in the morning after, I'll sit in the sauna and I will listen to Eric Thomas, and I'm ready to tackle the rest of the day. Yeah, I
almost fought myself one time I was listening to Eric Thomas.
But so find out whatever you connect to, whether it's, you know, a motivational speaker, you know, the Bible, a family member.
Right.
All of us need something to get us going every now and then.
Hip hop artists and why? What hip hop artists do you listen to and why? And I said specifically hip hop because I know you. Hip hop. Who
artists
and why? Who and why? Not even a specific question. Just who and why?
See, you asked the why question. I like hip hop because I like the beat.
I know.
So it's not necessarily any deep thought that goes into this process.
Understood.
But I mean, I like Jay-Z.
Yeah.
I like old school Tribe Called Quest.
Tribe, okay.
You know, Drake is okay. I can go with that.
Yeah.
But I have a slew full of mixtapes.
Yeah.
That my wife says my musical taste is immature, but that's when I grew up. So
because she may not like it.
She listens to it.
She listens to it.
And now I do like Snoop Dogg.
I know. Yeah. You got
know, I was one of the first people that I didn't go to a movie for 10 years.
Right.
Until Straight Outta Compton came out.
That's deep.
We went the first night.
You got to go.
So please don't judge me.
Yeah, no, ain't no judgment. Yeah, but, you were straight out of work.
I mean,
you were straight out of work. Then you finna go. You off the clock, man.
I grew up. I was in high school in the '80s and college in the early '90s.
Oh yeah.
So that's what we listened to.
Yeah, I grew up with.
But I like jazz. I like gospel. So let me throw that in.
Yeah. That's cool when you wind it down. But when it's time to get motivated, I get it. So I get motivated by UGK, Outkast, Goody Mob, stuff like that.
Is okay.
8-Ball, MJG, and stuff like that.
8-Ball, okay, that's a little tough.
That's a little tough.
Yeah, that's almost like the Ghetto Boys from back in the day.
What you know about the Ghetto?
You might need to end this because people start.
Yeah, I know, right? But no, ladies and gentlemen, thank y'all so much for tuning in. My name is Christopher Pugh. This is another episode of Manhood Mindset. We had the honor and privilege of interviewing Dr. Georj Lewis, Vice President, Student Affairs at Georgia Southern University. Remember, if you chase your purpose, sometimes your profession will chase you. So you keep God first, man. Do what you got to do and love yourself. Peace out.
You can manifest all you set your mind to. Hone any skill by choosing what stones to grind to. Master self by first looking deep within to find you. There's nothing wrong with loving self. All men were designed to. Yo, you already know what it is. It's your boy Big Rube, and you're listening to Manhood Mindset, hosted by Big Chris from Ellenwood. Peace.